It has happened in Vegas. The Cup's going to stay in Vegas. And for the first time, the Golden Knights are Stanley Cup champions.
All right, welcome back. Episode 17, I believe, of the Bread Loves Hockey podcast. We were unable to procure a guest this week after after some people fell through and other people were unavailable. So that's what happens when you only have so many hockey friends who are willing to come on the show. So it's like, yeah, every once in a while we're gonna deal with this, but that's all right. I'm sure we have plenty to talk about, anyways.
Yeah, I'd say so. And do you want to just hop right into it? Do you want to start with just the signings and the quick hits
Yeah,
of the week?
there have been a couple of like hockey moves over the last week or so since the last time we recorded. There have been a couple of trades. So Kalen Addison, he's a young defenseman. He was drafted by Minnesota. He was playing a little bit there, and then this year he kind of wasn't at that same level that he was like expected to be at. So he's been traded to San Jose for a 5th round pick in 2026, as well as right wing Adam Raska, who I was not familiar with. So probably just trying to get the contract number, because you have a 50 contract limit. So that's probably just what it was. So he's over there. He's already played a couple of games. And I haven't seen a ton on him, but I think he's been doing well. And he said, he was kind of surprised by the trade, but happy to be wanted by another team. That's always kind of a good feeling. It's like, yeah, good to know that at least in somebody's eyes, I have value, especially a team that isn't really in need of getting better. So it's kind of like, yeah, they do see a future, with this kid, despite, maybe a slower start. So that's good for Addison.
Yeah, it was a similar situation with Bogosian getting traded to Minnesota because he gets more ice time there. He was traded for a 7th round pick in 2025, and I mean, like you said, these are just hockey moves, clearing cap space. And I know we had already talked about in the future, like live streaming or whatever, the trade deadline, and this is getting me thinking that's gonna be like the most boring trade deadline in like forever, just because no one has any money or cap room to do anything.
Yeah, that does make it difficult. It's like, yeah, the off season free agency is kind of when a lot of these teams are trying to get their bargains and fill out their roster. So most of the competitive teams this year, or the teams that think that they're going to be competitive, yeah, are at that cap floor or cap ceiling or above it. So it will be tough, and maybe we'll see somewhere, rather than just a player for a pick or multiple picks, it'll be something where they have to actually move money. So maybe they move on from some folks that aren't working out, just try to upgrade. Um, if they try to
Also,
get a splash with a big name, and maybe they have to lose a couple depth guys. But it's harder to make those moves.
and what's the deal with the Sharks getting Kalen Addison? Because like out of all the teams, shouldn't they be like the least of the teams to be buyers?
I know I was definitely like I didn't expect the trade at all. I'm not like somebody who really closely follows Minnesota, so I wasn't really hearing as much of the rumblings before the trade happened. That he wasn't really panning out. I kind of thought he was still like gonna be a pretty good prospect for them. But yeah, San Jose, I did think also was sort of weird, because yeah, they're not in buy mode. Um, they're not really
No,
in
and
any mode.
any move.
Yeah, like, but I guess GM Mike Greer saw something with him and can see him filling out the roster in the coming years, when they are trying to shape more of their future core. So again, yeah, good for Addison. Both of those trades I was kind of surprised by. I didn't really like expect Tampa to move on from Bogosian at least during the season. Like I figured if they were gonna have him during the like if he was gonna be moved, it would have been during the off season to try to make other moves to get under the cap. But and maybe it
Yeah.
was just that like trying to work the cap for calling guys up.
Yeah, it seemed just like cap management. And like I said before, I think he's going to get more playing time now in Minnesota. So it seems like a win-win. Tampa gets more cap space, and Minnesota gets a depth piece that they can use. So,
And I feel like he plays kind of like Minnesota brand hockey. Like he's pretty
yeah.
physical, at least for a defenseman. Like I feel like they don't have usually a ton of defensemen that are really contributing offensively. Um, maybe maybe Spurgeon a little bit and Dumba for a while was, but obviously he's not there anymore. So yeah, he seems like he would fit. He's probably playing on the third line. If I had to take a guess, I haven't watched since they've traded him, traded for him. But yeah, I think it makes sense.
Do you know he's also one of three remaining Atlanta Thrashers? Bogosian.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I did know that. Um. Yeah.
Oh. Since we don't have any quizzes this week, do you have any idea who the other two are?
So I know it's uh one of the Jets. That or I
Yeah, he's
think
still on the Jets. He's a big Jets name.
I want to say Shifley.
No, the other one.
Uh, well, Wheeler isn't there anymore.
Oh yeah, well it is Wheeler.
Okay, that's why I initially thought it was
Yeah,
Wheeler, but when you said he's still on the Jets, I
right.
thought I thought it wasn't him. And then Evander Kane, I want to say is the other one.
Yep.
Yeah.
This article also had Andrew Ladd, who I think is now
Oh
retired.
yeah, Andrew Ladd did retire, so yeah, not many left until they come back for third time. I
Mm.
don't I know we talked about it before, but yeah, I don't know if they would come back with the same branding if they were gonna be if they would be the Thrashers again.
Yeah. Also, speaking about like historic-ish hockey things, I was listening to the 32 Thoughts podcast, and someone asked this question. So you know how for visors it was like obviously mandated but grandfathered in, where if you had played at least 25 games in the NHL at the time, you could choose to wear it or not.
Yeah.
And then there's like the discussion of who will be the last person, like visorless.
Yep.
But
Yep.
someone asked the question if someone who chose to wear a visor but had played over 25 games could take it off, which the answer is yes. So if they wanted, they could, after the last person retired, take off their
Hmm.
visor for the last game to
That would be kind of
technically
funny. Yeah.
be the last.
Do you
Yeah.
know how many are left that are actively not wearing a visor? It's got to be like maybe 10 or 12 or maybe even less
Yeah, I
than
was gonna
that.
say under 10. I mean, the first two that come to mind are Lucic and O'Reilly.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking
Um,
O'Reilly. Reeves, does he wear
Reeves, yeah.
visor?
No, he doesn't.
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't. I knew O'Reilly was one of them. I can't think of any others off the top of my head. Does Jeff Carter wear a visor? I feel like maybe he doesn't, but I don't know. I guess I'm
Oh, that's
just
the name I was thinking of. So the last person to not wear a helmet was Craig McTavish.
I wouldn't have got that.
Okay, here we go. Um, so Ryan O'Reilly, Jamie Benn, Jordy Benn, which I don't even know where he's playing these
Yeah,
days.
I guess Jamie Benn doesn't wear one. Yeah.
Zach Cassian, Bogosian, apparently.
Well, didn't Cassian just retire?
Probably. Yeah, this is old because this says Cassian is 32. This was no, this was April of this year. I didn't even realize Cassian retired at age 32.
He like just retired like before the season started, I think, or maybe during the season, but he wasn't playing.
And then
Um,
Reeve, Lucic, Matt Martin.
oh,
Yeah,
Matt
those are
Martin.
two.
Hmm. Yeah, so I guess not really many surprises on there. Maybe like O'Reilly just because he doesn't fit like that same type of role that all most of those other players
I
are
mean, you could say
playing.
Jamie Benn is a skilled player too,
Yeah,
depending how.
that's true.
I mean, because Marshawn is even a skilled player now.
Right.
It's just they also play like on an edge, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the other ones are, not to call them goons or anything,
Yeah,
but
Jordy Ben
have
definitely.
more fighting majors than your average NHLer.
Yeah, Lucic, Reeves. Um,
I think Zach was saying it last week that he wants a Lucic Reeves fight.
yeah, yeah, that would be good. Um, they didn't. They already played once this year and they didn't fight.
Well, Lucic was still out with his injury. He's still not back, so
Right, right.
still waiting on that return. A couple of other injuries, so but we've gotten to see our young guys play, so
Yep, yep.
we're still winning mostly.
I just watched the latest Behind the Bee episode with lunch today, and it's going
Yeah.
over Beecher and Lorai scoring their first goals, and um,
Mhm.
there was there one other player who played his first NHL game in that? I can't remember. Oh, it was
Um.
Parker Wotherspoon.
Oh yeah.
He didn't
Yeah.
score a goal though, but
No, when McAvoy was out with his suspension, yeah, we had Wotherspoon in
yeah,
too. And not the best blue line.
eh, no, but he's back now, right?
McAvoy, yeah.
Yeah,
In his first game, he scored a goal. First game back. That was cool.
he's pretty important. So
Yes.
yeah, they'd like to not have him be out any more games.
Especially now because Lindholm hasn't been playing up to what we expect from him. Like I wouldn't say he's playing bad, but especially after last year, how well he played, like you have higher expectations, and like with the contract he has, like
Yeah,
you expect him to play great, and he's been okay, and like he'll be kind of not noticeable, which is fine for a defenseman most of the time, and he'll make like one crazy, just like I don't know, like why do you think that was a good idea kind
yeah,
of play, um, especially like in the last overtime game, and just like I don't know, so. A little bit of worry there, but other than that, like I said, we're still winning games, so can't complain when you're top in the league.
yeah.
One point ahead of Vegas.
They've usurped Vegas after we've lost. I think we've lost 3 games in a row. I want to say,
Oh wow.
or maybe 2, and
But
we
Vegas fans
squeaked
aren't
out a
as
win.
crazy as Bruins fans. Like they're not freaking out or
No,
anything yet.
not really. We just lost. We just got shut out by Washington last night. I was texting
Mhm.
Gifford a little bit after the game, and it's like, yeah, like they like their expected goals for was like 3.5 something, and Washington was like 1.68 or something like that, and they still, weren't able to put one past
Capitals.
Lindgren, Charlie Lindgren.
Oh.
Yeah, the Capitals. Yeah. Um, he had a pretty good game, and yeah, they were just a little snake bitten. So it is a little bit concerning, but also they still haven't like Nick Waugh's been out for a while. Nick Hague was out, and Chano Stevenson's been out for a little bit, but I think at least Waugh and Stevenson are going to be coming back soon. They might be playing in Montreal tomorrow night, so that's good. Get some of those guys back, um, and yeah, we'll see if they can bounce back against Montreal, who's
Did you look at
not bad.
the deserve to win-o-meter for that game?
I didn't.
I just pulled it up. Vegas was 70.7%.
Yeah, they they were pretty dominant. They also did have to kill off a 5-minute major
Mm.
in that game, which you never want to have to do that. I'm trying to remember what the reason for it was, what the hit was. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they did kill it, but obviously they didn't score any goals. So tough to win games when you don't score any goals. So yeah, I'm not really concerned at this point with how many wins they've already banked, and I still think they're playing pretty well. Um, so it's hard to be too upset at this point. And yeah, again, we're both talking about like the 1 and 2 teams in the league, so it's
Yeah.
it's not like we're fighting for playoff spots and wondering, the future of the core. Unlike some other surprise teams this year, Edmonton is still struggling, and and they've made a change.
Yep, they got a new coach in here, which, I mean, I guess that was the only other thing you could try at this point. So obviously they fired Woodcroft, brought in, I believe it's pronounced Knobloch. That's what we're gonna go with for the pod. Um,
Sorry,
and
Chris.
yeah, I mean, they already tried changing goalies. It's tough to make any big trades other than that with the cap, as we had mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So I mean, the only other thing you could really try other than switching out a whole like GM is to get a new coach. I mean, Woodcroft I think was coaching fine. It wasn't necessarily on him. It's just the team needs a change, and that's again one of the only options they have left to try and revive their slowly dying start to the season.
Yeah, he was kind of the Woodcroft was kind of the scapegoat. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I think a lot of Oilers fans were kind of thinking that wasn't the move that they needed to make. Like what they really needed to do was let Ken Holland go. But it's too little, too late at this point. Like he already signed Jack Campbell, and he's already made some of these other moves that have sort of not panned out as far as the depth pieces. So yeah, no, Knobloch is now in there, and he won his first game. I believe that was the Seattle game. I want to say, although they're playing Seattle again tonight. Um, so he got that win, and he was McDavid's coach in Erie. So obviously that was a big factor. It seems like they keep bringing in new guys that McDavid's familiar with, former teammates, former coaches, other staff that are familiar with him because you know you kind of have to center the team around him, whether it makes sense or not. You've already dug yourself into this hole, so yeah, that's where they're at. And Dean mentioned before we started recording how McDavid's kind of been doing everything in his power to get his other line mates to produce offensively, and they just haven't been finishing. So hopefully a little bit of a change will fire these guys up. Otherwise, they're looking down the barrel of a huge playoff miss.
Yeah, and there were also some people talking just on the internet about how like the team kind of pushed out Woodcroft or how like it was like McDavid's like I want a new coach and kind of thing, but I don't think it was anything like that.
No, I don't think so. I think McDavid said afterwards that he never like Woodcroft never lost the room,
Right.
which is big for him to say, especially because like I do think McDavid has been the most outspoken this year that like he's ever been. Obviously, he's
Yeah.
very frustrated. I think it was Jeff Merrick who said on his podcast that like McDavid is legitimately like pissed off right now. Like he is furious that this team isn't at the spot that they thought they were going to be heading into the season, and it's kind of like McKinnon after they lost to Vegas a couple of years back in the playoffs, where he's like, yeah, I've been in the league for I don't remember how many it was, 6 or 7 years, and he's like, I haven't won shit. It's like, well, it's
Mhm.
kind of the same with McDavid. I mean, they have made it to the Western Conference Finals. They got their asses beat by Colorado, um, and that's kind of all he has to show for it right now. He's got all this individual hardware, but you know, he's kind of done with those act. I mean, he still wants to perform well, obviously, but it's a team game, and his team sucks right now.
Right. And anyone who's as good an athlete as McDavid has to be like insanely competitive to get to where you are. So like you can just tell he hates losing and
Oh
like
yeah,
will do anything in his power to win games. And I mean, we still don't know if he came back early from injury. He's starting to look better now, but that was also a question if he came back too soon and if that had an impact on the team.
yeah. That's true. I'm sure there was pressure, maybe not from the team, but like from himself to
Yeah.
to come back earlier, just because he knows how much the team needs him, how valuable he is. So I'm sure that didn't help. And
Yeah, and if like the coach was like, "I'm not playing you till you're healthy," he'd be like, "Yeah, right. Like I'm playing."
yeah, uh, it's the Connor McDavid show. Okay, so why don't you settle down?
Yeah.
If I'm
That's the
ready,
way to lose the room is say, "Sorry, I'm not playing McDavid tonight."
yeah, I'm sure a lot of other guys would be like, wait, what? if McDavid says he's ready to go, uh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bet on him. Yeah, and
Mhm.
yeah, like you mentioned earlier with the goalie situation, it hasn't been getting better for Jack Campbell since he's been playing in Bakersfield. I think he's allowed 4 goals in every game he's played so far, which is I think he's played 4 games for the Condors, and he's not improved at all. So I don't know like what it's gonna take for him to bounce back, even if he is gonna bounce back. They don't have a good situation going. I don't think Skinner has been like really super great either, but it's kind of like what other choice do we have? We mentioned I think it was last episode or 2 episodes ago about Calvin Pickard coming up. I don't know if he's actually played as a starter yet. I could probably check that, but yeah, not encouraging in between the pipes either.
And while we're on the topic of goalies, Francois is out for the season with a lower body injury.
Yeah, he has been um, kind of just riddled with like injury problems like the last like 3 seasons or so, where he looks like he's promising, um, but he just hasn't been able to stay healthy, and it's too bad. And I think a lot of Avalanche fans have kind of been like frustrated with that. They have Georgiev now, who's still a number one guy, um, but it seems like to really have a lot of success in this league, you kind of do have to have a 1-2 punch more or less. There's some exceptions like, well, I was gonna say Vasilevsky,
Vasilevsky, yeah.
but with how well Johansson has been playing, and Tompkins also, he had his first career win, so I don't know, maybe not. Maybe you just have to have a really good defense and structure, and with the base, the level of the goalies in the league nowadays, you might be able to scrape by.
But yeah, I think you're right about like there's not many teams that have one goalie playing 70 games anymore.
Yeah,
And I think we're also gonna get to a point where even the playoffs will be a rotation. Like we're not there yet, where even the Bruins, who had basically a 1A, 1B, went with just Ullmark. Well, almost just Ullmark for all the games. But I think I wouldn't be surprised, assuming the Bruins make the playoffs this year, to switch it back and forth. But I think it's been a known thing for Ullmark, even when he was on Buffalo, that like his play starts to falter a little when he gets like overworked.
mm-hmm.
Also,
And
I
I
did.
just oh,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I just looked it up, and Pickard has not started a game yet, so he's just been the backup for Skinner. I don't believe he's playing tonight either. Um, but I'd imagine at some point they're gonna have to bite the bullet and see what he can do. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with their prospect pool, so I don't know who else they have to turn to. Maybe they find a way to pick somebody up off waivers, which is what Colorado did. They picked up Prosvetov from Arizona. I believe that was a waiver pickup, which good thing that they did, because now he's the backup to Georgiev while Francois is out he's out for the rest of the season. So
Yeah, he never even played a game this year, I don't think.
no, he didn't.
I think that's what I just saw.
Mm.
But even like so the Avs had a good start. They were I mean it was the Avs, the Bruins and the Knights all like top undefeated to start the year. And then since then, even the wins that they've had, I mean I'm pretty close to a lot of Avs fans here. So
Yeah, right.
what I'm hearing on the streets is that even like the wins that they haven't looked good. Um and then if you go to and like just look in November, they lost 7-0 to the Knights. They lost 4-3 to the Kraken and lost 8-2 to the Blues.
Yeah, that one was crazy.
Yeah.
The
So
the Blues
they,
have actually been winning a couple of games lately. Like they've been sort of picking it up.
mm, yeah, so it's been interesting. I mean, I feel like like you don't know again with going back to Edmonton, like it's such a slow start, but like if they make it into the playoffs, I don't I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of people wouldn't end up being surprised. Like anything can happen after even after a slow start or a hot start in the first 10 or 20 games, like I know we talk about all the Thanksgiving standings and all these things, but a lot can change. Obviously,
We're
that's why
not
they
at
play
Thanksgiving
82.
yet. Let's see
That's
how
true.
how far out are they from a wild card spot right now.
Edmonton.
So I can go to wild card. There we go. They are currently at 9 points on the season, and the first wild card spot is Anaheim at 18 points. So 9 points back. I don't know how many games they play until or before American Thanksgiving, but it's
Well, you know
probably
how?
not enough to get there, especially
Yeah, and
if
like
Anaheim keeps winning and the other teams keep winning.
people talk about where like if a team's behind, they'll be like, oh, they need to play at like 100 point pace for the rest of the year to like make the playoffs or whatever. And like when you hear that, like if it's like Buffalo, you're like, oh, Buffalo needs to play at 105 point pace. Like good luck with that. But I think Edmonton, it's like 109 point pace, and you're like, oh, that's doable for Edmonton. Like they can play at 109 point pace for the
Yeah,
rest of the year. Like
we know what
last
the
year they
potential is.
right. So I mean, if any team's gonna start this way and make the playoffs, it's probably a team like Edmonton.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Um, I would like to point out that the Coyotes are currently 1 point out of a playoff spot in the wild card race in the West, behind the Blues, which have played the Blues have played one less game, so they have that. Obviously, it's still early, but um, Arizona did pick up a pretty big overtime loss point against Dallas. I believe it was last night. I would have liked to have seen them win that game. I was watching a little bit of the end, and they were up 3-2, and then they let in a breakaway goal from Jamie Benn, and then they couldn't get it done in overtime. But yeah, I'm still on the Coyotes train. I did not have them in the playoffs before the season started, but I would like to see them get close or even make it.
I remember we looked at these standings after like the first week, and we were like, "Oh, that's funny. Like the Ducks and the Coyotes are in the playoffs right now." And
Yeah,
like, I mean, they've actually kind of, I mean, they've dropped off and dropped out, obviously, but like they're still not just diving down to the basement. They're still kind of hanging on.
yeah, yeah. They are, and the Ducks are still doing pretty well. I think they lost recently, but other than that, they've been actually pretty good. I haven't watched a ton of their games, but um,
They have the
it's
same amount of points as the Maple Leafs.
yeah, that's
Are
saying
also in a
something.
wild card spot.
The Leafs have been kind of underwhelming, I think, so
Hmm.
far. They gotta sort of pick it up here. I think they've been struggling at home. Actually, I watched uh, the hockey guy's video on the Leafs from a few days ago, and he was talking about he was just showing off their record at home versus their record away and some other stats, and it was kind of interesting to see where they were at. Um, but yeah, they haven't been able to really figure it out completely.
Yeah, 5-3-2 in their last 10 on a 2-game win streak though, but yeah, not 600 winning percent or points percentage is not what you want.
No, and I think a lot of myself included had a lot of people had them as like the President's Trophy winner uh, this season. Like the pace that they were playing at last year was, I think it was their best season ever, or one of their best seasons ever as far as overall standings points go, and it just seemed like they had made moves that just made them even better last year. Not everybody's panned out. Klingberg has been absolutely dreadful. Apparently, he's injured now, so he's not playing. I kind of wonder, like, how much truth there is to that. Like, Sheldon Keefe kind of got in front of it a little bit when he said he was scratched, and it was like, yeah, he's injured. It's like he better be, because he has been playing really really poorly. Domi hasn't really been producing as much, but I think he started to pick it up a little bit lately. Bertuzzi's starting to pick it up also, so jury's still out, I guess, but not really positive right now for them.
Yeah, and have you ever noticed that like Leafs fans always seem to pick like one defenseman they just hate? It's like pick on, and like obviously now,
Justin Hall's
uh,
gone, so we need a new
yeah, need a new
defenseman
one.
scapegoat.
Klingberg's the guy. And I mean, well, you didn't watch when Phaneuf was in the league, but like he was one for a while. Tyson Barrie, I think at one point.
Hmm.
I think he was on the Leafs at one point, right?
I think he was. I I know he was on Edmonton for a while, but I think he was with the Leafs for a little bit before that. And
And he was on the
he was
Avs
on
at
the
one
Avs
point.
too.
Yeah, oh, for yeah, 1 year.
Okay, yeah.
Wait, is that right? Oh, that's goals. I'm like, he only played 5 games. He played 70 games.
7 games.
70.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow,
I mean,
geez, they really found
39
him
points minus
time to complain.
7. 5 goals, 34 assists.
I mean,
I mean, stats wise, but I mean, he's never been great defensively. He's more of a offensive defenseman,
yeah,
so stats will always look better than he is, I guess.
yeah, and there's certainly like eye test factors that Leafs are fans, not Leafs, fans are gonna you know have opinions on rather than just the underlying numbers. Um,
Yeah.
there's always a different story looking at the numbers versus just watching the games. Like, yeah, if you
Hmm.
actually, yeah, like if you watched the Capitals Vegas game, tells a different story than a 3-0 shutout. Like, I think there was two empty net goals in that game, so it's like, yeah, it's basically a 1 goal game, and they just got unlucky. So
That's another thing with like the eye test going back to the Leafs is like a lot of people are saying they're losing games because they have like no fight. Like they don't have any pushback. They just kind of get pushed around by other teams. And I think I don't think we talked about this last week. Maybe we did, but when they played the Bruins and like Marchand was being a pest or whatever, like um Bertuzzi was kind of like laughing on the bench or
yeah,
whatever and like not taking it seriously. So I don't know. So that's kind of I guess again kind of you don't see it on the stats, but not 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 defending your goalie after plays or like sticking up for your teammate and like I mean you can only assume or guess what the locker room atmosphere is like. I don't know. Who knows if it's actually good or bad or whatever, but like
yeah,
it
it's
has
so tough to
an
say.
impact as well. You
Um,
have a bunch of superstars on the team that hate each other, you're not going to win the cup.
right. Yeah, and like Giordano fought the other night. He's like he's 40 years old. He's the oldest Toronto Maple Leaf to have a fighting penalty.
Mm.
I think he beat Tim Horton by like 19 days or something like that. I don't know what it was, but um, yeah, like when you have when he feels like he has to fight like at his age, it's kind of like you know maybe a little bit telling. Um,
Yeah. Well, they're trying to bring in these guys to help fight, but if your team doesn't have that atmosphere, it's not going to work. Like
yeah,
we've brought in the Bruins have brought in new guys and like Van Riemsdyk like one of his first game or two he started he, like was get like roughing someone up after the play because he was like got too close to Swayman or whatever. So it's like just something that's like more of just an atmosphere thing or like I don't know. You can't just put a bunch of goons together. It's just the way the team functions.
yeah. Like Reeves hasn't really been as physical as I think some people were expecting when they signed him. I don't know. It's not. He must be playing through something right now. And yeah, he's pretty much a liability at this point. Like I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter about people talking about his underlying numbers and how just terrible he's been in even in like very limited minutes. Like he's hardly playing at all. He's playing like 7-8 minutes a game, and it's like every time he's out there, he's making a negative impact. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
his days are probably numbered. Probably gonna go the Wayne Simmons path, where it's kind of like quietly retire into the AHL, and that's kind of it.
So he won't be the last man without a visor.
Probably not. Probably not. How old is O'Reilly? Is he like 34, 35. Like he might. I
Probably
guess.
around there. Yeah.
I guess they
I
all have to
was
be pretty old.
I was thinking O'Reilly would probably be the last.
Yeah, because
um,
he probably can play a little bit more since he doesn't have to use his body in the same way.
yeah, I'll get less miles.
Yeah, less mileage. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as we continue our Leafs discussion, um, the Maple Leafs are also one of the teams in the Patrick Kane
Oh
discussion.
yeah.
We're down to, according to this article from a couple hours ago, we have the Maple Leafs, who have now become more of a longer shot contender. According to Johnston, he reported that last week. We have the Maple Leafs, the Panthers, Sabres, Red Wings, Stars, and Lightning.
Hmm.
Still interested in signing Kane, and people are saying that he will probably be signed before Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
So they
I've
don't have
heard I've
long
heard
to
like
wait.
from some people saying like this week, maybe even so, it'll probably
Right
break like
after
after
we
we finish
finish
recording.
recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear Bill Zito has been pretty aggressive in trying to get him. Um, we heard Buffalo is the rumor for a while in the off season, so might still be a thing. Um, I don't know what sort of money we should be expecting. I guess it
Return.
depends on what. Yeah, I guess it depends on the term and what team it is, because a lot of these teams like Toronto has no money. Like they have negative money. They're barely functioning right now. Even with guys on injured reserve, like they are strapped. Same with Florida. I think Buffalo does have some money. I think the Red Wings have a little bit of money as well. Maybe I don't know what Dallas is looking like. So yeah,
The Maple Leafs have $60,000.
hmm.
That's some good cap management, though, if you're trying to spend to the cap.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of these teams have gotten really creative and gotten the most. Like I think Vegas they maximized their LTI pool to the dollar this year. Like they had zero room to spare. I think Vancouver got into like $1 within $1 last year. So yeah, these teams have needed to find a way to what's the word, navigate the cap, because it has not been easy.
According to Cap Friendly, the Panthers have $7.6 million in cap space.
Really?
Yeah, and it says something that doesn't make sense to me, but well, so long LTIR summary. This team is currently accruing cap space because their daily cap hit is less than their ACSL, which ACSL
I
might
just clicked
is
accruable
a
cap space
Google.
limit.
Well, that probably means something, but they have 7.5 million to spend, so they have enough for Kane.
Hmm.
Do you
Yeah,
have any idea? So if you gave Kane a 1 year, how much do you think? Like, so I guess still a rental, even though you're not at the deadline, so you have him for most of the year, but still 1 year, call it a rental. What do you think would be a reasonable um, AAV for that?
I'm trying to think of like how he performed last year with the Rangers, and like he was kind of underwhelming. I think for most of that time, like he didn't even get on the board for like a few, like 3 or 4 games. I think before he got his first goal, and um, he certainly lost a step. Speed wise. I think the puck handling and the obviously the hockey vision is still there. So, and obviously, he's going to a team with the expectation to win. So he's
Yeah,
probably not going to be asking for as much as maybe he thinks he's worth. Especially on a 1 year deal. So maybe in like the 2.5 range, I would say. And there could also
I
be
think that's
like,
low.
I think there could also be like performance bonuses, kind of like what happened with Bergeron and Krejci, where the actual cap hit is less, but in order to fit under the cap for whatever team he's signing with, they might just
Uh,
push the money to next year.
I think he's only 34 years old, and I think that doesn't, or he just turned 35, so that doesn't apply unless you're over 35 years old, those bonuses.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah. And I think he turned 35 this year, but you need to be 35 before the season starts. So I don't think he can even do that.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that
I
changes your answer, but
I
I was
didn't know
thinking
that.
like 4 to 6 million for 1 year, where like I think four would be like obviously the low end, and like 4.5, 5 makes sense. If you're going 5.5, I mean that's kind of high, but like if you have the cap space, like I guess.
I think he's kind of like projected to be in that sort of third line role, I guess. So maybe you have to sort of pay the Patrick Kane like name tax a little bit in order to get him, especially
Yeah.
if the bidding wars is getting high. I don't know, like if he really wants to choose where he like the team that he thinks fits best, or if he just wants to get as much money as possible and go to a contending team. Like, sure, that'll be a factor. Um, but yeah, maybe I was being a little bit too low, especially with not being able to get performance bonuses.
So
Um,
actually, I was just looking it up. So there's three ways for you to get a performance bonus. It's either a player on their entry level contract, a player that's signed to a 1 year contract and is over 35 years old. So neither of those apply to Kane. And the last one is a player has signed a 1 year contract after returning from a long-term injury and has played 400 or more games and spent 100 or more days on the injured reserve in the last year of their most recent contract. But he wasn't under contract
yeah,
he wasn't on LTIR. He was just unsigned. So I don't think he can get any performance
yeah,
bonus.
I would say probably not if those are the criteria. Um, yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Um, so it
The
was
more you
just
know.
missed the mark
Yeah.
for 35.
Well, the only reason I know that, or it's fresh in my head, is because someone again asked this on the 32 Thoughts podcast, asking if he was waiting to turn 35 to get him, but they said that you'd have to turn 35 before the season started, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Yeah, well, so we'll obviously we'll keep you guys updated. I don't know. Do you have in your mind like one where you think he's gonna go, and maybe where you feel like he would fit in the best?
Well, I'd like him to go to the Stars. I think that would be a good fit too. And all the other teams seem to be like Eastern Conference teams, which I don't want to,
Mm,
have to deal with.
right.
Like I don't want him to go to the Panthers or the Maple Leafs. Um, or I forget what other teams I listed on there, but
Red Wings.
Red Wings, yeah.
I feel like Sabers. Like I think the Stars were the only
I'd be
West Coast
okay
team.
with the Sabres, but I'd prefer the Stars.
Yeah. I don't like. I don't think I would want him to be on like Vegas, for example. Like I don't know. I just don't know how much is really there, like that he has left to offer. That at least for Vegas, that like the other players in that third line winger sort of role can already provide. So at least for me, I don't know if it makes a ton of sense. I'm sure some teams that they just want to have a little bit more of that experience and like decent puck handling still and good, like I said, good vision, able to make plays, especially maybe on a second power play unit. He could be valuable there. So yeah, I guess as far as not wanting him to be in my conference, I wouldn't want him to be in Dallas. So I'd
Yeah.
probably say either Florida or Buffalo will be my choices. Um, I think I've heard some Buffalo fans say they don't really want him, but not really up to you. So
The Bruins could use a top six winger. No one wanted him last year though, because the same thing. And I mean, last year was a different story with the Bruins, but we're like, we don't want it. Like we don't have the money, we don't want him. And this year we don't have the money, but I mean, like, we could use him. Like again, like I say, we are missing that top six winger. Our center depth isn't great either, but we're doing okay with the young guys.
yeah,
But I mean, for the right price, I'd take him. But again, I don't think like we definitely don't have the money, no matter what he wants. If he wants 1 million, we don't have it.
yeah, right, right.
So. Maybe
And
to make room.
it could be a situation where he does sign and he does look good, and I'm kind of taking the L on that one. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
I think he's still got something left if he plays with good players.
Yeah, I'm sure
Same
he'll
with
want to have some good
McDavid.
chemistry. Maybe if he plays with some other Americans. I feel like doesn't Dallas have a decent amount of American players? I don't know,
I
maybe
think
not.
so. How come the
I know
Oilers aren't
Robertson's
in on this?
American, but
Do
he
they not
probably
have any
wouldn't be playing
money?
with him. Buffalo, I think, has
Edmonton.
some also, like Alex Tuck and
Edmonton has 1.4 million in cap space. So yeah.
uh I think it's probably not in the cards for them.
And maybe Kane doesn't want to go there either.
Probably not. It would
They
like
can't. They can't have more than one Kane.
that's true. That would be kind of funny to see.
E Kane and
P
P Kane.
Kane, like, yeah, interesting to see that. That doesn't happen too often, actually, where you get two players on the same team with the same
The
name.
Bruins had it with who was it? It was
Oh,
a couple years ago.
I know who you're talking about. Well, Kevin and Colin Miller.
Right. Well. Oh yeah. Cause well.
That was a while ago, but
Yeah.
who?
But I'm trying to remember what they did. No, I don't think
Oh, the
they.
Nashes also.
Nash. That's what I'm thinking of. But I don't think they did the letters because that's still Rick and Riley.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like, well, you have R.I. and then it's still the same.
That I wonder. I think Jamel and Giovanni Smith also were on the same team for a little bit, so they would have had to do like G.E. Smith and G.I. Smith, I guess. Um, unless, or they just said they have different numbers, so I guess that's good enough. Like, yeah, I don't know what they do in those
I don't think Kevin
situations.
and Colin had different things on the back either.
No,
So,
they didn't.
but yeah, because also, um, yeah, I don't know if you're different sizes and I don't know
Yeah,
different handedness
yeah.
as well. Maybe you wouldn't notice, but
Good callback.
uh, but yeah, I don't remember the last time they, like you said, it doesn't come up often, but
I guess it's
I don't know the
happened a
last time
couple
I
of times
saw.
with the Bruins, though. I don't.
Right, but
It's
I'm saying the last time they actually did like the first letter of the first name.
Yeah, it's definitely not happened for Vegas. I know that.
It's a weird thing to try to find. First letter of first name, NHL
Yeah,
jersey.
I want to see if Jamel and Giovanni had that. Red Wings brothers Jamel Giovanni Smith playing on the same team. The coolest thing. Yeah. So yeah, they played a little bit of time together in Detroit. Oh, I can't see the front. I can't see the back of his jersey in this photo.
Well, Jamie Benn and Jordy Benn played on the same team for a while,
That's
right?
true. Yeah. Um, did you say where Jordy Ben is now? I think is is he still with Toronto, or is he or did he go to Vancouver? I can't remember.
Mm,
Ben.
He's played. Oh wait, like maybe he hasn't played this year because
Yeah, I don't think he
22,
has.
23.
Yeah, I don't see him on Toronto or Vancouver's. I think that's where he was last. So he's probably not playing. I mean, even the last couple of years, he was kind of a fringe, just a seventh, eighth defenseman sort of guy. So
Yeah, he was undrafted. He's also 2 years older than Jamie
mm,
Benn, so getting up there.
yeah, yep. Yeah, I don't see a photo of the two of them.
I'm gonna have to do some research later.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I probably don't have to, but
Yeah,
just because
you
of
will.
my brain, yeah, I need to at least get some sort of closure on it.
Right.
So that's enough of that. Speaking of jerseys,
There
yeah,
we
so
go.
Jagr's gonna get his jersey retired. Finally, it seems like Pittsburgh fans, and yes, it's with Pittsburgh. If anybody was thinking it was with
Darn.
Calgary or Florida or
Name half the league.
New Jersey, yeah, no. So
Austin.
he does get his number retired. I don't remember exactly when the ceremony is. I think it's maybe in February or something. But yeah, so he'll be I think the third Penguin to have his jersey number retired. So for a franchise that's that old, like they were one of the original 12, I guess. That's pretty special and obviously well deserving. He's still playing hockey too, so he's still not in the Hockey Hall of Fame. And there have been talks about if the Hall is gonna make an exception for him even while
I
he's still
mean, come
playing.
on. Like, why not?
Yeah, like I think it's pretty clear that he deserves to be there. Um, and yeah, he's just loving the game out in the Czech Republic, and he's a team owner or too. I think.
Right. Well, we don't know how much of it is his love for the game versus he owns the team he plays for.
Yeah,
So is he doing it to like keep the team alive because it was like his father's team or whatever? But like to play that long, you do have to just love the game too.
yeah,
But I wonder if when the Penguins retired his jersey, if they were waiting for the Hall of Fame thing to do it like coincide, and then you're like, all right, that's taking too long. Like we've waited long enough.
yeah. That could be. It's like, all right, let's just get this taken care of because
Hmm.
I'm sure it's come up before, with Pittsburgh fans like, all right, what's the deal here? And then I'd imagine Crosby will be the next one in however many years. I think
Yeah.
probably of the three of that trio, he'll be the only one I would say that would get his number retired. I don't think Letang and Malkin will, even though they've had obviously such a huge impact on the team. I think Crosby's kind of the guy. So, and you don't want to get rid of too many numbers because eventually you're not going to have any numbers left.
Yeah, and given the lack of love that Malkin has gotten for like the top 100 lists and all that,
He,
yeah,
he
probably
definitely
not the
gets
best
he definitely
bet.
gets snubbed. Like I haven't been watching his full career, but I feel like a lot of people still sort of undervalue him just because Crosby's already there. It's like, yeah,
It's a
Malkin is still
Bergeron Krejci
great,
situation.
right? And we've already talked about that. Um, I don't remember which episode it was. It was a
One
while
of the
ago.
early ones.
Yeah, it was still in the off season.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe a similar, like, on the cusp of the Hall sort of consideration. Um,
Mhm. Mm,
maybe
speaking of the
not.
Hall of Fame, there was the ceremony on Monday. I didn't watch any of it. I don't know if you did or had anything like, the inductees have their speeches and all
Oh,
that.
I did see some like screen grabs from that, but I didn't watch it. I
Yeah.
know Lundqvist was there. It was like the
All
the
the
year of the
goalies.
goalie. Yeah, who was it? Tom Barrasso or whatever, and a couple
Hmm.
other guys.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so they did have that. I don't have anything to add. Well, that's
Going
good.
back to jerseys.
That's true. Yeah. So I'm wearing Whalers because the Hurricanes have announced they are going to be wearing a white version of this with this one doesn't have it. Pucky, the whale on the shoulder. And they're going to also wear the Cooperalls from the 80s. I assume it's just during warm-ups because that's what the Flyers did as well with their reverse retros. I believe it was the second round is when they wore them. But they only wore them for the warm-ups and then they didn't wear them in the game. But they
This
are gonna
this
wear it
isn't
for one time.
this isn't a new jersey, is it?
Yeah, it is a new Adidas jersey.
Okay.
It's a
You,
white version.
you can already buy it online.
Yep, you can already buy it. Some people have already bought it.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Because I'm like, I feel like I've seen this jersey before, but maybe not.
It's just, I mean, yeah, it's like
Just another
It's
Whalers jersey.
it's just a new version, yeah, like an Adidas
Yeah.
white version. Like they've had this one for a while, and then they had the you might be able to see it, the gray sleeve sticking out there. That's their first reverse retro, which does have Pucky on it, and it was a little weird because it was gray, but I think it worked out pretty well. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's fun. I think it looks actually really good. Like the whole uniform
It's
looks
very
pretty
clean.
clean. Yeah, so I might get it. Probably we'll see. And I've actually been talking about going to that game that they're gonna be wearing it. So if I do, I'll definitely grab some photos of the Cooperalls and stuff. Cause yeah, that sounds really fun. I was planning on going before they announced it, and then I was like, oh, that's another good reason to go. Although I don't know if that's gonna affect the ticket prices at all. Probably not, but you never know.
Well, it's only $135, and this is free shipping right now. And then she's doing one of their rare discounts that they never do ever.
I didn't even know about that 135 because it was like 200 or whatever, 205 on the Kane's Pro Shop, I think.
Oh,
Um,
unless I'm looking at the wrong thing here, I'll send it to you in Discord.
very good. Well, we might be donning the new jersey on the podcast sooner than later.
A live jersey purchase coming at you right now. We'll capture his screen as he types in his credit
Yeah,
card
let me type in
information.
my numbers right now. Here's my shipping address and here's my date of birth. Very interesting.
Yeah. Maybe if we
So
set up a PO box, someone will send you one.
that would be lovely. Of course, they'd send it to me after I already bought it. Oh, that's why. It's because this is the Fanatics version. So
Oh,
I'm
no.
sure the Adidas
Beggars can't be
version.
choosers.
Yeah, the Adidas version is 180. So it's that one's not discounted. But
I think.
yeah, it looks. I still think it looks good. I'm not gonna seek it out. I think unless it gets discounted. But it looks good. Always good to see that, see some new stuff. And then speaking of which, PWHL has revealed their inaugural jerseys, and they have not been received well. Let's say that. I did not like them to start, and yeah, they are all word diagonal word mark jerseys. Um, every single one of them, and it just says the city name, and that's it. So we still don't know. Well, we still haven't officially had the nicknames be announced yet. So yeah, Boston just says Boston. Minnesota says Minnesota. They all are like that, and then it's just base color and then some stripes, and that's kind of it.
I'd only seen the mock-ups, like not the actual jersey, but it's like the artwork.
Mm-hmm.
But there's photos now or from a day ago of people wear like the players wearing them
Yeah,
or a player, and it looks a lot better as like an actual jersey than just the mock-up.
the mock-ups. Yeah, yeah. Mm, they're just they're uninspired. I think right now, but we have gotten the team colors. Obviously, now we know what those are going to be like because that's what the jerseys are based off of. So I'll just quickly rip through them. So Boston's going to be forest green with gray and white. Minnesota, piggybacking off of the Vikings, I guess, are going to be purple, black, and white. Montreal is burgundy with storm, and I don't know what storm is. I think it's like maybe gray or something. I can't remember. And sand, which is like a beige sort of color. New York is going to be turquoise, navy blue, and white. I think that one is probably my favorite color scheme. Ottawa is going to be red, storm, and white, and that one's probably my least favorite. I don't like the shade of red that they used. And then Toronto is blue, black, and white. So probably not a ton of surprises, I guess. I mean, I don't really know what you would be expecting, but again, that they're just starting out. They have sort of announced that these are kind of just placeholders for this year, and they're sort of gonna fledge out the logos and the branding and everything after this year, but it's still kind of not setting themselves up for success right now.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense to not put all this effort into when you don't have the logos and like names yet, but at the same time you'd think that maybe before starting the season you should figure that stuff out. But also like it seems like they didn't want to put in the effort to make jerseys that were only going to be around for 1 year, so they kind of took the easy route and went with the same design for all 6 teams.
Yeah, it's just kind of disappointing because this is the first year. You're gonna want to make sure you build a foundation right from the beginning, to have these teams be exciting to watch and have good designs. You're gonna want to have big merch sales because you're not gonna be making money the first year, definitely not. So you want to at least have some way to sort of offset the costs a little bit. So it just sort of sets themselves up for failure, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
They are going to have Canadian Tire shoulder patches for the Canadian teams, so they already are okay with having sponsorship patches, I guess, which is, I guess, to be expected because it's not like they're in the same boat as the NHL where they can go without that money. And even the NHL now
already
they already
did it
have
and
them.
got the stigma from the fans and everything, so they've already like paved the way to allow other leagues to kind of do it with less backlash.
Yeah. So that's what's going on right now. They haven't. I think some staff have been hired at this point, but we still don't know what arenas they're gonna play in. Like we mentioned, we don't know their logos. The nicknames haven't been officially announced, and I don't think we know exactly when the season is gonna start. They said January. I don't know if it's like January 1st or what. But still more details to come, and it's getting close. Like today's the 15th of November, so we're a month and a half away from them playing games, and still seems like a lot has yet to be revealed. But I'm sure it's all in good time, and hopefully it's a successful rollout for the rest.
Yep.
I'm
No,
not.
nothing else to add to that. I mean, basically, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'm not totally encouraged by what's been announced so far, but I think a lot of fans are in a similar boat where they want to support this league and they want to support women's hockey, but the league so far is kind of making it difficult to do so. So hopefully it gets easier, and and we also don't know how you're gonna watch the games. If you're not at the games live, we have not gotten any information on streaming packages. I doubt that they're gonna be on like main network TV. That's probably gonna be some sort of subscription thing. I don't know what sort of plan they're expecting, but yeah, they're gonna
The
have to be
ESPN Plus.
careful. That
'Cause, I
would
mean,
be good.
they do college games too, so I
Yeah,
don't
they
see
do.
why not.
ESPN Plus would be good, I think, if they were able to swing that. Because yeah, if they have to make somebody sign up for a brand new subscription service, it might be difficult, especially if the price point is kind of a little bit higher than what a lot of fans will be willing to pay. It's so tough with how many different platforms there are, depending on how much content you want to view. It can be difficult to make the money work for a lot of people. So yeah, hopefully it's a good entry point, and we're watching the games and talking about that instead of jerseys and whatnot.
Do you know how women's hockey was watched before? Like, or how it was streamed? Because I have
Uh,
no idea. Like, what did people pay before to watch it?
that's a good question, and I don't have an
And
answer. I
it'll be on the screen for you to know the
Yeah,
answer.
I did
You
not
will know.
watch. I haven't watched women's games besides the Clarkson women's games, which I believe were also on ESPN Plus.
I think so
Um,
too.
but yeah, besides college, I did not watch any of the previous iterations of the women's leagues, so I don't know. But now you know.
Yes.
Let me get a sip here.
Do we want to talk about the Adam Johnson thing or no? And I forgot I added it, but maybe I didn't.
No, I don't. I don't think you added it, but
Oh, do we want to or no? I mean, I don't care either way.
I don't know. I don't really have a ton extra to add to it other than um,
Reporting the news.
yeah, reporting the latest, which is the I can't remember the player's name who was arrested, but he's
Matt Petgrave.
Petgrave. Yeah, so
Or Petgrave. Or
he's been
he was
put on
released on
bail. Yeah,
bail
released. That's the word. I was like, I couldn't find
after
it.
being charged with manslaughter. And I was looking at I was reading through Reddit comments, and I mean, people are trying a lot. Again, it happened in the UK, and a lot of people are from the US who are hockey fans because it's the NHL, and people aren't no don't know or assuming that the UK law is the same as the US law, which apparently it's not, which makes sense.
Yeah,
But it seems like being arrested. Well, at first it was he got arrested, but did he get charged? And according to this article from CBS Sports, it said being charged. So we'll assume he got charged. But even being arrested or charged in the UK isn't as serious as the US apparently, because it seems like they can arrest without full proof. Like if they think you did, they can arrest you, and then there can be a trial and all this stuff. So we still don't know what will happen going forward, but um, what people are speculating is that nothing will come of it unless he confesses and says that yeah, I intentionally meant to do this, which would
seems
never
unlikely.
happen. Yeah, so I don't even know if there'd be a trial or anything. I mean, he was released on bail, so I don't know what the next steps are, but it seems like I don't know, it's been kind of blown out of proportion, I guess, but
Yeah,
um I don't know. I mean, they're doing their job, I guess, and I mean, if something fishy did happen, definitely look into it. But it, I think we discussed this in our group chat. That, if you watch the video, it seems like he Petgrave loses his balance, and the way he goes down isn't a way I've ever seen a hockey player fall. Like his left leg going up in the air isn't a natural movement. So it seems like he, while falling, intended to kind of stick his leg out to kind of just get in Johnson's way or kick him or whatever. He didn't mean to get a skate up in his neck.
yeah,
You assume, but he meant to hit him or hurt him. Obviously not kill him, but there was still some intent. So I mean, there's arguments to be made that he should be punished in some way, but probably being tried for manslaughter is a bit much when you're playing a sport that there's certain risk.
yeah. I would probably agree. And yeah, it's definitely getting a lot of attention from, like you said, people that don't watch the EIHL. And
Mainstream media is also blowing this out of proportion.
yeah, so I think yeah, we'll just sort of leave it to the investigators in the UK and go from there. But you know, regardless, it's not gonna bring Johnson back. It's like hopefully proper justice is served if it is warranted. But um, I'm probably in a similar boat with you, Dean, where it did look a little bit unnatural the way that his leg moved. There was a there was a clip that wasn't showing the actual injury, which I was very happy that wasn't it because I'd never watched the actual
Same.
clip, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be involved with that, with sharing it or viewing it. Um, so that's kind of
Yeah,
where we're
the
at now.
1 second clip of just the kick. I just clicked that before I even knew what I was clicking, and I was like, oh. But I'm like, oh, it wasn't I'm glad I didn't get the whole thing. But
Yeah,
as far as the fans of the two teams go, they both seem to agree that was just a freak accident. So I mean, again, I think most hockey fans think it's or say we all knew it could happen eventually, and then when mainstream media picked it up, that's when this has become such a big deal. Yeah, we'll wait and see what or how this concludes, and
Yeah.
then until then, we'll just, I guess, wait and hang out.
Yeah, and I'm sure it wouldn't have blown up as much if he wasn't a former NHL player too.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
like yeah, that certainly boosted the numbers. Like, oh yeah, like this guy has played in the NHL versus like somebody who's just like starting in the EHL or whatever. It, I mean, obviously we would have heard about it still. I would assume because it's pretty rare. If something like that happens, thank God. Um, but yeah, that didn't help.
And I mean, the other part of it is the person that kicked him being black, and then people on Twitter, all the right wing people going after him, and that whole thing. So I mean,
Yeah,
anything everything gets politicized. So.
yeah. Any seems like any reason to attack a group that they're not fond
Hmm.
of, they'll take that chance and run with it and blow it up. So that part's unfortunate. Even if there was intent to hurt, it's like, yeah, you still don't want to take it that way.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess we'll move on from that. I don't have any fun topics to lighten the mood. I guess why don't we talk about the 3-on-3 proposed changes they've been
Okay.
they've been discussing
So
because I
yeah,
did see
Colin
that.
Campbell was saying that GMs had discussed the idea of changing the rules to limit teams from continuously looping back and like regrouping in 3-on-3 overtime. So I mean, you see it all the time where it's really just a possession game in overtime where they'll go into the zone and then they'll maybe make some passes, and then if they don't like their setup, they'll skate back out.
Yeah, get
Um,
forced out or whatever. Yeah,
yeah, or well, not forced out, but like they're like, I don't know, yeah, any pressure at all, they'll skate out. So they talked
yeah,
about
pressure,
maybe making it so once you cross either center ice or the blue line into the zone, you can't leave, or adding a shot
shot
clock.
clock or something. Yeah,
Um, but what someone proposed on Reddit was like seemed like the obvious answer was in overtime they keep the long change, but why not just switch it the benches? Because a lot of times when they skate in and back out is to make a line change, because you have to skate all the way to the far end to change. So if you just switch the bench or switch the sides for overtime, then that should limit that. And then before we start adding all these rule changes, that seems like an easy thing to try.
yeah.
But I
That
know
that could be.
I think part of the reason that originally happened back when it was 5-on-5 was because you get more scoring chances when you have the long change because defenders get pinned in their own end, so they get tired. And then if they do want to change, they might make like a risky change or whatever. But it seems like 3-on-3 they're just avoiding that by doing the looping thing. So if you want to get rid of
Yeah,
the looping thing, you just switch the benches back, and that could solve it.
I wonder if that would impact how people buy their behind the glass or behind the net
I doubt people buy it
tickets.
for overtime, like expecting overtime.
Yeah, you'd get, well, you would get if you were on the same side that they start the first and the third period, you would get the overtime side also. So you would get three out of the four potential
Right.
periods.
Well, you're already picking for 2 out of the 3, so
Right. Well, yeah, and then overtime is where it equals out. But
5 minutes,
theoretically, yeah.
a quarter of it.
Right, right. So probably
Yeah.
not. But it is interesting. I don't know if it's necessarily warranted. Like I do hear like the groans sometimes, like from like home teams where the away team is just sort of regrouping a lot and trying to get the best rush possible. It can be kind of frustrating to watch, but it also, there's reasons to be interested in it, because if you make a little mistake, it could lead to a break. Like there is still so many chances in overtime, but it's kind of good that they're at least looking at it. I don't know if it's necessarily the worst thing going on with the league right now that they need to look at. And maybe they could just increase the time limit. I know people have talked about 10-minute overtime or eliminating the shootout and going to the tie. But
That's what I'm for.
at least
10
at
minutes.
least they're exploring their options.
Yeah.
I imagine a new rule wouldn't be instituted, during the season.
Right. Probably not.
But yeah, cool they're talking about it. I think a shot clock would be kind of different. Like obviously it hasn't happened in the league before. Um,
Yeah, that would be a weird one.
and yeah, how are you going to implement that as far as the players knowing it? Like, is it just gonna be you're gonna have to install a new like screen or something for all the boards? Like that's a factor, or is the ref gonna have a different pitched whistle which indicates that the clock has started and then it stops or something and they blow it
Yeah.
dead or what? Um, so logistics to be fledged out if that's the route that they go, but we'll see. I could be in favor of potentially having it where you can't leave the zone, um, but uh, maybe that could cause some other problems. I don't know.
Yeah, and there was another proposed rule change for offside, and it was kind of like a shot clock type thing as well, where, I mean, there's been complaints where like you enter the zone, you're set up for a minute or two and score, and then they challenge for offside, and it's like that entry 2 minutes ago was just a tiny bit offside, so there's no goal. So like a shot clock type thing where if you're in the zone for I don't know 20, 30 seconds, whatever, and it doesn't get cleared out and you score, the offside is like nullified because that didn't lead right to a goal or anything. So, I mean, there's like interesting things about that as well, because I mean, there's been talks about changing the offside challenge for a while because it's not really in the spirit of the game
Yeah,
or the rule to be the tiniest bit offside where it doesn't affect the play and calling back goals because of it.
yeah, that's definitely been frustrating. If you're on the receiving end of the goal being overturned, where it's like okay, they only really were able to do this because they have the benefit of having the video replay on their iPads or tablets like right in front of them, and it's like let me just check, might as well, because I mean there is a penalty for incorrect challenge, which is good, but it seems like especially in close games, like you're usually gonna take that risk if you see something.
Yeah,
um,
it's not even the people on the bench looking at it. They have people like specialists or whatever on their team
yeah,
watching these from like all the angles right after the goal, and then they'll like call it down and be like, "Yeah, challenge this" or whatever.
yep. Which that is a big part of the game now because
Mhm.
like I know Vegas has historically been pretty good at video review and getting challenges right. So it can make a huge difference, especially if it's in playoffs, in overtime, stuff like that. So you want to get those calls right, but at the same time, like you said, a slightly offside play, a couple of minutes um, after the entry or after the goal or before the goal. Jeez, um, you know, doesn't really impact the whole play.
So I just found on morehockeystats.com success rates for coaches' challenges in the NHL.
Hmm.
So they actually track this.
For
This
coaches,
year,
interesting.
Lindy Ruff is in leading the. Well, actually, I'm sorting by percent. He's 1-0, but Pascal Vincent is 4-0, four offside challenges, one.
Oh, well, that's good. Good for the new guy.
Then there's interference challenges. A couple of people 1-0. Let's look at last year.
For some reason, I wasn't thinking about goalie interference. I was like, you can challenge interference. I'm like,
The Bruins got one a goal taken back the other night, and it was again like a spirit of the rule thing where like someone ran into the goalie's blocker and like it kind of moved his arm for a second, and then like it was 2 seconds later maybe the shot went glove side and he missed it, and it's like
hmm.
technically it's goal interference because you hit him. You were in the blue paint and you touched him. It's like you're gonna call that, but like
Yeah,
it didn't really affect the goal.
I do kind of hate those where it's like, yeah, they went in there a little bit. They did like touch the pad or touch a part of the goalie, and then yeah, after a couple seconds pass by, they're sort of out of position to make that save, and so it's like, yeah, I feel like it's enough to say that you were directly influenced by the action in the crease, but it is frustrating when it doesn't feel like it really made the impact that the goalie makes it seem like it was. You see him as soon as that puck goes in and they felt any contact, they're rushing over to the ref like, did you see that? Like, he was all over me. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna do whatever it takes to not let that goal count, but it's annoying.
Since we don't have too much else to discuss, I can tell you last year there were one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 coaches who did not lose a challenge. Lane Lambert only had 3 challenges all year, which I don't know if he was trying to think.
He
Again, as we know, I don't know the most about coaches, but if
he
he was
was
there
the
all
he
year or
was the
not.
coach the whole year, so
Okay, so only 3 challenges. Daryl Suter had 6, Ruby had 5, Torrell had 6, Brendamore had 5, McClellan had 7, and Richardson had 7, and those were all the people who had 100%. Um, Paul Maurice challenged 21 times
wow,
and won 16, lost 5.
that's pretty good.
Mario St. Louis challenged 13 times, won 5, lost 8,
Ooh.
and he's a new coach. Dean Evanson was 2 for 7.
Oh,
Rick Tocchet won 1, lost 2. And then
uh,
yeah, St. Louis was third worst. Derek Lalonde did not.
no challenges.
He went 0 for 3.
Oh,
He only challenged interference all 3 times.
that's tough.
Maybe he just trusts his goalie, and when his goalie said, he's like, okay.
I feel like Bruce Cassidy has
Sheldon
been pretty
Keefe
good.
won 10, lost 1.
That's good.
Woodcroft won 14, lost 2.
Yeah,
Where is
those are some good numbers.
Bruce Cassidy won 5, lost 1.
That sounds about right. I guess it is.
Montgomery won 5, lost 2. Two for 4 on goal interference and 3-0 on offside for Montgomery, and Cassidy one of 2 on interference and 4-0 on offside. So it seems actually, yeah, I mean, look at that. Wow, Woodcroft challenged interference 8 times and was 7-1.
Hmm.
I was gonna say my theory was no one knows what goal interference is. It was gonna be like 50-50, but um, I guess not.
And you've said, previously you feel like the Bruins lose a lot of those offside challenge. Well, I guess it's
Well,
usually
we
the
we
goals
get
against.
our goals taken away.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah, that's
So,
a neat little
guess they did.
website.
Guess they did pretty good last year.
Yeah,
But
you
they
can
didn't
download
really
this.
need the challenges to do well last year. I think
No,
they were doing pretty fine on their own.
I'd say so.
Yeah. What do you think, Dean? Wrap it up here. I don't have.
Yeah,
Neither of us have a game prepared, and there's only 2 of us, so it probably doesn't make for a very. We can't do face off or anything like that unless just had we just verified the results
yeah,
after the fact and assume we're right.
yeah. Well, we can finish off with the last 2 small news pieces that we.
Yeah, the little
Um,
ones we didn't. Yeah, we didn't find a way to shoehorn them in, but Yoel Kiviranta, who was on PTO starting the season with Colorado, he does officially sign a 1-year deal, league minimum. So he was on Dallas for a while, and he had that big overtime goal against Colorado to eliminate them from the playoffs back in the bubble. So he's now with the team. I don't know if he's actually played with them yet or not. But he's with them now, so good for those guys on the PTO to um, their roster spots. And then so Calgary has been in the trade rumors pretty much since the offseason with how many pending UFAs they were having they had going into the year. We thought maybe some of them would get traded during the offseason or maybe even get some extensions, but now that the Flames have been not performing very well to start the season, Zadorov and Tanev have both been creeping up in the trade rumors, and I guess Zadorov has asked formally for a trade. Toronto has been in the mix, even though, again, no money, so don't really know how that would work. And I don't know if I don't think Tanev has asked for a trade, but just because he's, again, one of those UFAs, it looks like he's in the mix. He's valuable, and I guess Calgary management has come out and said that they're not actively, trying to aggressively trade these guys. They're not in any rush, so it might not happen right away. They're probably just trying to look for the best value, see what they can get for these guys. Because, yeah, I mean, Tanev is still very valuable, I would say. Zadorov, maybe not as valuable. Maybe, I guess it depends on how you view them. I don't know how old they are. Let's take a gander. So Zadorov's 28, and he's got a cap hit of 3.75, and Tanev is 33 with a cap hit of 4.5. So Tanev's got a little bit more experience. He's a right D, so I think part of it is Calgary's still sort of holding out hope that they can still compete this year. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Where are they right now? They're still kind of bottom feeders. Well, they're middle of the pack in the wild card race. They're 5-8-2, so obviously that's a losing record. But I think they've got the pieces. Their goalies haven't been doing great, although I think we'll see if, as we mentioned before, if Wolf is going to come in. But yeah, that's where they're at. So I don't know if something's going to come soon on that, but it's out there. I don't think either of our teams are in the market. I don't know how many teams can really accommodate these guys, but obviously Toronto does have some need on D. So if they think they can make the money work, and if they have to shed a couple of guys that haven't been panning out, they might do that.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we're more looking for a forward than a defender.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. With again, not a lot of teams have cap space, so
Nope.
it could just be another kind of hockey trade, as we call them, where they're just kind of making cap room and trade for assets.
Yep. Yeah, and of course, Tree Living is the GM in Toronto, who obviously he just came from Calgary, so he's familiar with these guys, which is, I'm sure, a factor for why Toronto's in the mix for anybody on Calgary. Like, yeah, he's familiar with the team, and I'm sure he'd like to get some of his guys back. I don't know if he was the one who signed these guys. I don't know how long of a tenure Tree Living had. I'm just not that familiar with Calgary, but it was probably him. So that's it. I don't have a ton to say about them. Like, I'm not that familiar with their games, but they could be valuable still. It's always good to have a strong D man. So
Especially when playoffs start and you always have defensemen getting injured. Like, feel like every year the Bruins will go in with like 7 or 8 defenders, and like, oh, we have plenty, and then we're like calling up some random guy from the AHL,
You're
and
like, uh-oh.
yeah, can never have enough defenders.
Nope.
That's all I got.
That's all I got. Thanks, folks. We'll catch you next week.
See
Thanksgiving
ya.
week.
Zamboni driver hits boards and falls off Zamboni. Video.
Oh, video, good.